Welcome to lecture 10, which will be about citrus crops. Citrus in Arabic al-hamdiyat, so that includes everything from lime to oranges to grapefruits. And here we will learn a few things about citrus. That's the species that is commonly known throughout the world as this describes this particular plant species or major important crop. It's actually one of the top crops in the world. So what is citrus? Citrus in taxonomy belongs to one family, and that's called Rutaceae. So that's the name of the family of citrus, Rutaceae. So this citrus is actually a very big family, the Rutaceae, I mean. It is one big family, and so it has a subfamily called Aurantoideae. Aurantoideae is a subfamily of this family, but the family name is Rutaceae. Under this Aurantoideae, or the family Rutaceae, there is 150 genera. Genera is a word that means the genus. Actually, that's the plural of genus. You know the scientific name of plants are genus and species, right? For example, Citrus aurantifolia. So the genus is Citrus and the species aurantifolia, which is the Omani lime. Omani lime. So this genus here that belongs to this family, there is 150 of them. The most important one in this group is called citrus, as you know already, because we are talking about citrus. That's why it is very important. So the most important crop is, or species, or genus is citrus species. All kinds of species, they all belong to citrus. There are, however, two other genera in the Rutaceae family that is not really citrus, but they are grouped under citrus. So even though these are not citrus, they are also called citrus, even though they don't belong to this citrus group, but they are still called citrus. So that includes the two types or the two genuses. One is citrus, one is called Fortunilla, and that is the group or the genus of kumquats, and we tried this in the lab. It's very small yellow fruits. And the other one is Poacearis trifoliata, and that is called trifoliate orange. It is called orange, but it is actually not citrus. It is not citrus species. It is Poacearis trifoliata, which is a very different species than citrus. So it is very important to know that is in citrus, it's not only citrus, right? So in citrus group, it's not just citrus, but there are other plants that belong to this group of plants or crops that is actually not in the genus citrus. One is the kumquat, that is Fortunilla, and the other one is trifoliate orange, that is Poacearis trifoliata. Okay. However, even though these don't belong to citrus, they are still called a citrus crop. Until when we talked about nuts, there are certain crops that are not nuts, but we call them nut crop. These are also the same thing. There are citrus crops, but they are not really citrus. These two are not really citrus, but they belong to the citrus crops. However, if you think only about citrus, you can see here citrus. There is 1,600 species under citrus. So citrus is not really a small group. It is huge by itself. There is 1,600 species of citrus. And that's why Swingle, who is a scientist, made 5 groups of citrus. He did like 5 groups of citrus. And these are the groups. The first group is called the sweet orange group. That is Citrus sinensis, sweet orange group. Second group which is in Arabic called برتقال. So this is one group, هذه مجموعة واحدة called sweet orange, and it is the scientific name for the sweet orange is Citrus sinensis, and so that's one group. The second group is called tangerine and mandarin group, and that's called Citrus reticulata. So when you talk about Citrus reticulata, you are talking about the citrus group on its own, different from sweet orange. And in Arabic, this is called Yusfi or Centra, this group. So this sweet orange, and this is the mandarin, which is Yusfi. That is protocol. Then we have a third group called grapefruit, which is Citrus paradisi. Fourth group is the lemon. This is Citrus lemon, the yellow one. Lemon ladhalia بالعربي اسمه. So the name is lemon. And there is the lime, like the Omani lime, Citrus aurantifolia. So these are the group of citrus that are known worldwide. Number one, sweet orange. Second one is mandarin. Third one is grapefruit, and then lemon and lime. So this is basically the grouping of citrus that is proposed by scientists called Swingle, and that is to group all these 1,600 different types of citrus into these major groups. So that is the taxonomy of citrus. Other important citrus species beside these species, of course, there is other important citrus, and that is one of them is called pomelo. Even in Arabic it's called pomelo also, and the scientific name for it is Citrus grandis or Citrus maxima. And this is very big fruit, the pomelo, the biggest one. It's the only one that is actually tropical. So this is a tropical fruit, a tropical citrus fruit, and it is the only one that is actually a tropical. The rest are all subtropical. All the citrus is subtropical except for this one. This is the only one that is tropical. All other citrus is subtropical. Okay. Another one is called sour orange, and we don't know much about this one because we don't really use it much as a fruit. It's called Citrus aurantium. Okay. So this is called بالعماني نارنج. So this is naranj, sour orange. This is Citrus maxima اللي هي pomelo or shaddock, which is usually big in size. Then the last one is called شاموم. في بعض المكانات اسمه شخاخ اللي هو Citrus medica. Citrus medica is also called in English citron. Citrus aurantium is called sword orange, so that's an orange. And here we have citron اللي هو شخاخ أو شاموم. In Arabic it's also called al-atraj or the tranj, al-atraj, شاموم, شخاخ, all of it is the same thing. It's citron and it is called Citrus medica because really it is used for medical purposes. This is Citrus medica. This is what it looks like. This is pomelo. So this is Citrus medica. Okay. So this is Citrus medica, and this is the pomelo. So these are overview of taxonomy of citrus. This is the kumquat. You know the kumquat is very small. As I told you before, it's for tonella. Usually used as ornamental also. It can be consumed, and the fruits are very small like this. But they are actually not used much as a fruit as much. يعني. It's usually used as ornamental plant also. Okay. This is the trifoliate orange. So here we have trifoliate orange, just so you know it. And this trifoliate orange is usually used as rootstock because it can tolerate many diseases. Okay, so this is even though it is a citrus, but it's actually not in the citrus group as I already told you before. Okay, So where the citrus come from? The citrus actually comes, or the origin of citrus is northeast India in the Indian subcontinent, all the way to Malaysia and northern Australia, in that area. So it goes from India all the way to Indonesia and Malaysia, and then down to Australia. This whole area is where the citrus is. Okay, that's the origin of it. So that is the center of diversity. So most of these 1,600 something species origin from this area. Okay, so that's, you need to know this information, that it actually a big area from India to Indonesia to Australia. The whole area, this whole triangle is very big part of the world. This is where the citrus species are found mostly, the origin, the diversity is there. Okay, for example, certain types of citrus like sweet orange مثلا, they probably came from India. Whereas the trifoliate orange, the one I showed you picture last slide, is originally from China. And so certain citrus like lime, they probably came from Malaysia. So these are different types of citrus. They came from this huge area. This is very huge. The whole, from India all the way to the east. Then from there, they spread throughout the subtropics via trade routes. Okay, so trade routes are the one that spread citrus from India, from Indonesia, from China to other parts of the world, and Omani sailors played an important role in the spread of citrus. Now at this time, these are the top countries that are producing citrus in all continents. In Africa, Egypt is the leading country. As you know, South Africa also and Morocco are the top in Africa. In North America, the US, of course, especially Florida, also Mexico as well. In South America, Latin America, Brazil and Argentina as well, but Brazil is the most, more than any other country. In Asia, India is the largest, and also China and Iran, they produce large quantities of citrus, and we bring from there many of the citrus species in the market here in Oman. In Europe, Spain is the largest, and they produce Valencia, orange, as you already know. Italy next, and then Greece a little bit. In Oceania, in this continent, Australia is the leading country. I think this is very little on Tonga and New Zealand. So these are the countries that produce the most citrus, basically throughout the world, the leading countries. These are the countries that produce the most citrus in the world. So you can see they are distributed throughout. And the most continent with the largest production of citrus is actually South America, America Latina. Okay. So in Oman, there are many different species that grow citrus. Okay. So in Oman, the most important citrus, as you already know, is lime. And that's what we grow the most. We also grow other oranges and grapefruit, mandarin, but the lime is the largest by far compared to all other crops. As you already know, lime area has been growing all the way to almost 25,000 metric tons until they were hit by the witch's broom disease of lime. Then it went down. And since that day, it remained about 5,000 to 10,000. Even now, it's not really much. The same, about 5,000 to 10,000 tons of lime. So lime is the most important. However, we had a problem with lime. As you know already, we got witch's broom disease of lime. Okay, so let's talk about orange a little bit in terms of botany. What makes the orange or the citrus? It has these dots in the leaves. Okay, they are transparent, pellucid dots on the leaves. It's very characteristic of citrus. You don't see this in other species. It's only in citrus. And you also, if you squeeze the leaf of any citrus plant, lime or orange or anything, you will smell the aromatic oils in these leaves. And the same thing also found in the skin of the fruit. The same glands are also found there. Of course, the lime and citrus in general, they have superior ovary, and you already know from before what is superior ovary. You know that this is the flower, this is the ovary, and everything is below it. So the ovary is here, this is the stigma and stem, but this is the ovary, and the anthers and filaments, and all of these are below it. So it has a superior ovary, and they have a nectary disc that is fallen below the ovary, and I'll show you a picture in a moment. As you already know from fruit classification, citrus have their own classification. They are berries, but they are also Hesperidium. So citrus, they are Hesperidium, okay, and as you know from before that, they belong to the berry group. This is what I'm talking about. Why the ovary? This is the ovary, and this is the, of course, this is the style, and this is the stigma, and this is the disc that they describe as a nectaric disc, that where the nectar is held. So it's always like that. So if you go and see another picture, it's the same thing. This is the ovary. The other parts of the flower are all below the ovary, and that's why it is superior, of course, but also it falls on a disc. Citrus have also juice sacs, okay, the Hesperidium, and they have juice sacs and vesicles where they carry the juice in the endocarp, as you already remember from before. Citrus species came from originally compound leaves, more than one leaf. So you have, as you know, the trifoliate orange had 3 leaves, the trifoliate orange, but also the other species have the same thing. Some leaves have wings, like appendages. Yeah, I'll show you now what that means. Basically means this is the, if you look at the leaf of citrus, of lime, for example, you will have these small appendages here. Mostly other oranges will be, this is the, basically they used to be leaves like this one, large leaves. Now they are small and only one main leaf here. So these are the wings. They are talking about the wings. This is the wings. Okay. The seedlings are tall. If you grow citrus from seed, they become very tall. They will have thorns, shock. They are thorny. They're very tall, and they don't mature quickly. It takes very long time, 10 to 15 years. Even when you do lime, it takes a long time to grow it from seed. So most people don't grow from seeds. So seedlings are like that. They take a long time. This you can tell actually the different types of citrus from the leaf itself. Here, for example, you can tell this is a grapefruit because you can see the bandages are large. See, this is the bandages for the grapefruit. You can see the bandages are smaller for the sweet orange. They are also smaller for the tangerine. These are equal, but here you have dark green leaf and serrated like this. Here they are straight. They are not serrated. The lemon and lime is very small bandages. You don't even see it. Also, the leaf is very elongated and tall. Whereas the pomelo have large bandages and very long leaflet here, and they overlap with the bandages. See, they overlap here. Here they are separate. These are separate, but here they overlap. So that's how you can tell the citrus from the leaves. Of course, you can easily tell by the fruit, but if you don't have the fruit, you can tell by these leaves. These are some other pictures. You can see Citrus medicas here, which is like a shamoom or shkar, or a citron. Um, okay, so that's Citrus medica. Lime, Citrus aurantifolia. This is the leaf of lime. You can see very little bandages, but you see pomelo overlapping, big ones and overlapping. Grapefruit is smaller than pomelo. They look the same, but they are smaller. This is the orange. You can tell the orange. You see the shape of the fruit, of the leaf of the orange is different than the mandarin, which has no apparent bandages and smaller, much smaller leaves compared to the other citrus species. And this is the grapefruit here also. So grapefruit and pomelo are almost very close to each other. The mandarin and lime, they look like the same in terms of appendages, but the shape of the leaf is very different. Of course, the oranges is completely different. You can see it here, the shape of the leaf. Okay, on the flowering and fruiting of citrus, flower bloom, the opening of flower, is profuse, means plenty of flowers. They produce like 40,000 flowers in a 10-year-old tree. So that's a huge number of flowers, but only 1 to 5% of all the flowers, they become fruit. Okay, that's how they produce fruits. Not all the flowers become fruits, but they produce so many flowers. And the fruit, as I already mentioned this before also, the flowers of citrus is on the terminal branch, and usually on the previous or current flush. So it doesn't produce flowers inside the tree. It's always on the outside in the new growth. The flowers are perfect. That means they have male and female structures. They usually cyme, as you know, and they usually, because it's dicot, they are 5. So they have 5 petals, 20 stamens, multiplication of 5 sepals, 10 sections in the fruit usually. Sometimes it's a multiplication of that. Citrus is usually self-pollinated. However, it is pollinated by insects like bees, for example, especially bees. They are large pollinators of citrus. Okay. So they do produce sometimes, not always. Okay, but it happens that they produce by, they are pollinated by insects, even though they are perfect flowers, but they usually produce fruit from cross-pollination by insects like bees. This is the flower, the cyme flowers. You can see here the flower of lime, and this is the structure of the lime tree, and you can see the cyme. That means on the outside. Outside is usually the mature one. As you go inside, they are less mature. Certain kinds of citrus don't have seeds, seedless, like navel orange, for example. Navel orange is, in Arabic, برتقال أبو سرة. It's navel orange. So seedlessness is a result of something called parthenocarpy, which is basically the ability to produce fruit without fertilization. They get pollinated, but they don't require fertilization to produce fruits. As you know from before, that most of the plants will go through pollination and then fertilization, and then they set fruit, right? In parthenocarpic fruits, they don't. There is no sexual fertilizations. So these are called parthenocarpic. They go through something called parthenocarpic. They don't do any kind of fertilizations. So based on this, there are different categories of parthenocarpy. One is weakly parthenocarpic. They will only few fruits set without pollination, like navel orange, for example, the one without seeds. So this does not require pollination, but if they don't get pollinated, they will only set few fruits, not too much. It's very weak. So they still need pollination. Moderately parthenocarpic means a good fruit produced without pollination, like tangelo. Tangelo is also a kind of citrus that does not produce seeds. And so this doesn't require a lot of pollination. It will produce okay crop without pollination. There is strongly parthenocarpic. That means without pollination, they will set fruit. And a good example is Tahiti lime or Brazilian lime. The one you see in the market now in Oman, that is Tahiti lime. So they don't really need any kind of pollination. Whereas if you have navel orange, you have to have pollination. Otherwise, you have very few fruits. Seeds can also be polyembryonic. That means, as we already talked about, polyembryony. That means they can produce more than one embryo from one seed. So they are polyembryonic, meaning there is more than one embryo per seed from one seed. This is called polyembryonic. Okay. As you already experienced and you learned that the citrus itself is a berry, and it is Hesperidium, and you can see this is the exocarp on the outside. Inside the white tissue is mesocarp, and all the inside is actually endocarp, and the seeds are inside the endocarp. The outside is yellow, as you know, and it is called flavido. So this is the flavido, the exocarp. The endocarp or the mesocarp is called, the white one is called albedo, means white. So the, like if you look at the orange on the outside, the skin is called flavido, and on the inside it is called albedo. The juice sacs inside the endocarp, so they surround the endocarp, and they are always in sections, and this number of sections also multiplication or 4 or 5 because it is a dicot. So these are the juice sacs. Some fruits, as I mentioned before, because of parthenocarpy, are seedless. This is where it is. This is our skin, is flavido. So this is the skin of the citrus plant. Okay, so this is the skin, and this is, which is basically the exocarp, whereas this white thing all around is albedo. It's a mesocarp, but it's also called albedo. So you can see that the mesocarp, number 3, is the albedo, and the exocarp is the flavido. Okay, so remember the 5 categories of citrus, right? We start with the sweet orange. Sweet orange in itself, there is 4 groups of these sweet oranges. This is the number 1. There are 4 classes. The Valencia common round orange, called Valencia, Valencia, which is called Portugal Asir. And then the navel Abu Sarra, that's Washington navel usually. That's what it is, like Paya, like Java. All these are navel oranges. So this is Valencia, navel. Number 3 is blood orange, which is usually a kind of orange that is red from inside. You don't see it much here because it needs cold weather. And then number 4 is acidless. It's not acid, it is sweet. That's why it is called acidless. So we have acidless, blood orange, navel, and Valencia. They are usually harvested in Oman during this time, October, November, December. But in colder climate like Florida, it is December, January, and February. So in Oman, it starts early because it is hot country, but in colder climate, subtropical climate, it is a little bit late for oranges. This is sweet orange, and this is the Valencia type, number 1 category. This is number 2, Washington Navel, Abu Sarra. Okay, and then you also have the other 2, the one that's red from the inside, the blood orange, and the acidless. Okay, second group, the tangerine, Citrus reticulata, which has also mandarin. So there's mandarin and there's a tangerine. Okay, so it has a tangerine and then all belong to the same group, Citrus reticulata. You know the mandarin, useful, very easy to remove the skin, very easy peeling. Okay, so include many different types. The mandarin also, Satsuma oranges is also, or Satsuma mandarins are very common and well known. There are different types of hybrids of mandarins, like king and temple oranges. There is also the Mediterranean ones. But the most common thing in mandarin and tangerine is the skin is very easy to peel. Okay, so skin is very easy to peel. Tangerine is, mandarin has a lot of seeds. Tangerine have less seeds. Sometimes they don't have a lot of seeds, very little seeds. This is the mandarin, اليوسفي. centra. And this is the clementine type, and there's a Fairchild. So you can see the number of seeds is not the same. Even the shape is a little bit different, but you know what mandarin is already. Grapefruit is the third group, called Citrus paradisi. This is a hybrid actually between sweet orange and pomelo, the shaddock. That's why they look the same. The shaddock and grapefruit leaves look the same because it's actually the grapefruit came from pomelo. Okay, they are hybrid. They are mixed between sweet orange and pomelo. Okay, they are all 4 types because all are mutations. One is white flesh with seeds. The second one is white flesh and without seeds. The one white flesh with seeds is called Duncan. The white flesh with no seeds is called Marsh. So it's very common. There's also the pink from inside. If you open the fruit, you find it pink from inside, not white. So we have 2 types of pink. Also one without seeds. Okay, it's called Thompson, and another one also without seeds, but a little bit more like pink to red. It's called red blush grapefruit. So some with seed, others without seeds, and there are 2 types: the pink type and the white. So we have the white here, we have the pink type. Most of the what you see the grapefruit you see in the market in Oman, it's usually Thompson, and it's usually pink, not too red. This is the red blush, the one with or without seeds, but it has red skin, and this is the marsh, the yellow one or the white one. It's not really white, it's kind of yellow. Okay, so the 4th group is called lemon, citrus lemon, like Adhalia, like Corica, the yellow one, as you know, the yellow one, the yellow lemon that we use for juice. It's a hybrid of citron. And the 5th group is lime. That includes Orantifolia, which is the Omani lime. It's like the Omani lime. There's also the one that without seeds, the one I talked to about now, the Tahiti and Persian lime, which is strongly parthenocarpic. It says no seeds without pollination. So that is called latifolia. The Tahiti or Brazilian or Persian lime is the same thing. So that is basically another group, number 5, which is the lime. This is the lime, and this is the lemon. You know, this is the lemon, how it looks like. This is actually yellow when it is ripe, and this is the 2 types of limes. This is the Omani lime, Orantifolia, and this is Latifolia, the different kind of lime, which is no seeds, seedless lime, like the Brazilian lime. Okay, so again, it's another picture between lime when they are ripe. This is lime. I think this is Eureka, not Adalia. The Adalia is usually yellow skin, but this is a type of lime. And also here we have the Orantifolia. It's actually Pierce and Citrus. It's a different variety. It's called Pierce. It doesn't have plenty of seeds, but it is Latifolia. So there are 2 types of citrus. One is called Pierce lime, one is Eureka. Both are actually a kind of lemon and lime. This is the sweet lime, Citrus limetoid. In Oman, we call it sfarjal, but it's not actually sfarjal, it is sweet lime. And we have also the rootstock lime, Rajpur lime. It's also another group of lime. All these are lime. Okay, how do we come so many citrus species? Where they come from? That's because very easy to hybridize citrus. Very easy to come up with hybrids by just pollinating one flower of lime with another flower of orange and lime and so on. So that's why there is a naming specifically for citrus hybrids. So there's a special way to name it. Prefixes is before the name, or suffixes is after the name. For example, you take the part of the plant, right? For example, Citrus paradisi is like grapefruit, right? It comes from the pomelo. So we take omillo or illa. This is how it is. For oranges, Citrus sinensis, sweet orange, we take or, like from orange, or we take ang, the next part here. So either before or after. Reticulata, tangerine or mandarin. We take the tan, which is for tangerine. So if we take tan here, just to show you, even for oranges also the same thing. So if you take for oranges, you take or, and if you want to suffix for, suffix is and, or let's say and is a suffix, this is and. So you take this one or this one when you name it. For example, if you mix these two together, you can have oro. If I hybridize orange with grapefruit, I will take oro millo. So or coming from one plant and omillo from the other plant. So it becomes a new one. Tan for tangerine, right? Or I can take the end and darine from mandarin. See, that's how you name it. Lemon, you take lim. Okay. For trifoliate oranges, you take citr, like citrus. So when you mix and name things, they become from different parts of the plant. That's how it is. Yeah. For example, if you are creating a new hybrid, and this is really available, it's in the market. The Tango is available. Okay. So now what? How do you name this plant a new species that you came up with? I will take the beginning of this plant, the species tangerine. So I call this tang. Because I had orange, I have two ways to do it. Either I take ang or. Here they took or. So this new plant is now hybrid. We already know it's hybrid between tangerine and orange. Why? Because tang come from tangerine and or came from orange. So that is how we name new hybrids. So if you ever create a plant, it's going to be named like that. Okay, in terms of culture, citrus is really adapted fruit. You can see it everywhere you go. It can tolerate a wide range of soils and climates. You can find lemon or lime in Muscat, lime in Salala, lime in Jebel Akhdar, everywhere. So they can tolerate all kinds of weather. Okay, they tolerate also high or low pH at the same time. They can also tolerate salinity more than any other crop. So they can tolerate drought, heat, salinity, cold. They are very versatile crops. The only thing that they don't like is staying in water for a long time. So they don't like flooding. They don't like water too much, but they can be very well adapted to these climates. Best fruit quality of citrus, like lime or oranges, for example, is counted or known from the juice content, how much juice they make. Because when they are not ripe, they don't make much juice, but when they are ripe, they make plenty of juice. And now when you take the juice, you want to see how much sugar to acid. If you take an orange, you know the orange. If you take a sweet orange, you like it more than acidic orange. But if you want lime, you want acid, you don't want sugar. So this is the balance between sugar and acid in fruits that is very important for citrus. If we take orange in the tropics, where the temperature doesn't vary much, like Salada, مثلا, the lower acid and sugar, usually it's green bean because you need a cold weather for the orange skin to become orange. If you don't have enough cold, they will not be orange. They will be patchy, green and orange. Okay, but lime tolerate colds. They have low cold hardness. They can tolerate very cold weather, even below zero, and they can tolerate arid climates and cold climates like the case in Oman. Okay, but most citrus, if it stays too long under -2 to -12, they will probably die because it is too cold for them. If they stay for a long time, 1 week or 2 weeks or a month, only 1 day, 2 days is okay, but more than that, no, they will be killed. The cold hardness, how much cold they tolerate, is like this. Citron tolerate less than lime, less than lemon, less than grapefruit, less than orange. That's how their cold hardness is. So certain kind of plants tolerate cold more than others. Okay. The flowering induced by quiescence, when the temperature drops below 13 degrees Celsius or they're subjected to drought, they produce flowers. Okay, that's why in Oman, sometimes we induce drought by not irrigating. If you don't irrigate citrus, like in October, we stop irrigating lime, then they produce a lot of flowers. So one way to induce flowering in plants, in crops in general, is just don't give them water in October, November, and then all of a sudden give them too much water, they will produce plenty of flowers. Okay. So one also characteristics of the fruit is that the peels become thicker and have more rough texture in Mediterranean climate than in subtropical climate. Okay. Peel color also is best in the Mediterranean climate where it is colder. Okay, due to cool winters that will enhance chlorophyll destructions and fewer blemishes. That means if it is cold, then it's going to be orange. If it is tropical or subtropical, the skin of the fruit is not going to be not too orange. That means they become patchy, the skin becomes a little bit green and very little orange inside there. Most of it is batches of not totally orange, but it will be like an orange like this, and then there will be some that has green like that. But in Mediterranean climate, because the weather is really cold, you find the orange totally orange from the inside. So the fruit is totally orange. I painted it green. I should paint it orange because this is the Mediterranean fruit and this is the tropical, subtropical. So this is the Mediterranean and this is tropical and subtropical. Okay. But the good thing in subtropics, the juice content is higher. So even though this subtropic is not totally orange, but it is actually having more juice than Mediterranean because of the cold weather. You see, this is the color I'm talking about. So this is what you get in the tropics and subtropics with, so this is the tropics with subtropics color of the skin, whereas here the color is orange in the Mediterranean, where it needs a lot of, this is all because of cold weather, all because of cold. If this is subjected to cold, it will also be like this, orange. See, this is all orange. This is not orange. This is did not go through cold, not enough cold. When it is cold, it's going to be like this. So Mediterranean climate is going to be like this, but tropical or subtropical is going to be like this. Other things of importance to citrus is the acid content. Usually it is higher, and sugar content usually lower in cold climate in Mediterranean, okay, than subtropical climates. Okay, acid break down faster than warm nights, and warm day temperature allow greater photosynthesis. Hence, the sugar to acid ratio is higher in Florida than it is in other parts of the United States, for example. Within the arid climates, the rate of maturation is faster in hot desert area like Oman than in coastal areas, like in colder climate, like Spain, for example. So that's why we harvest orange before Spain and before Florida, because our climate is hot and arid. Some fruits in some countries, especially cold climates, they do store fruit on the tree. They don't harvest all the fruit. They keep them on the tree, especially Valencia oranges. They maintain color quality throughout the winter into the summer if they are left on the tree. Okay, but if this is not going to work in Florida because they become green. So the climate has a major impact on the fruit quality, the color of the skin, and also it's very important in the juice content. So the color, the juice content, the quality in general. The acid to sugar ratio is also affected by the weather. So that's why it's very important to choose the right weather. That's why in Oman, the most successful fruit crop in citrus is lime. It works every climate. It tolerates heat, it tolerates a little bit of salinity, it tolerates drought as well. How do you propagate citrus? We usually use seeds, but this is the problem with this longevity. That means they're no fruit for a long time. So no fruit for a long time. And the seeds are polyembryonic. That means they become true to type. They will grow like the mother plant. Other methods of propagation include vegetative propagation, like budding, like layering, like cutting. They all work fine. We can also graft citrus. In some countries, they do grafting. For example, they use sour orange for grapefruit, sweet orange also. Okay, can be used as sweet orange and grapefruit. Both of them use sour orange as rootstock because it can resist phytophthora. It can tolerate phytophthora. Lime, Ranjpur lime especially, is very tolerant to salt, pH, and Tristeza virus. So if we have a virus like Tristeza, very common virus of citrus, we can graft lime on Ranjpur lime rootstock. So this is the rootstock that we can use for grafting. Okay. In terms of planting, how do you plant citrus trees? What we do is we usually follow a rectangular system, and I showed this before. So it's going to be like this. This is the rectangular system, and then later on they become a hedge. So this, you can see this hedge here. They initially started like this, and then they become a hedge. The space is about 6 by 4.5 meter between trees. Usually the density is 250 by 225 trees per hectare. So this is high density actually, high density orchard. It does require, as we mentioned before, not too much pruning for citrus, except for cleaning and topping and hedging. Otherwise, the citrus will do fine without much pruning. The common pests and diseases, as I mentioned to you now, and this can be treated by rootstock if you graft with a rootstock, is Tristeza, which is a very dangerous virus of citrus. There's also the Phytoplasma, which is causing witch's broom disease of lime, Mechanist Sahara, in lime, very dangerous problem. We have Phytophthora, which is also another problem of citrus. We have nematode problem, and we have all kinds of pest problems. We have leaf miners everywhere, aphids, black fly, scale insect, all of it are pests of citrus. And here you can see this is a witch's broom disease of lime. This is leaf miner, and this is Tristeza disease. So it's very, very common pests and diseases. I will make this clearer. This is the witch's broom disease of lime. This is leaf miner, and this is Tristeza. But for Oman, really, the witch's broom is the most important problem. Until now, it hasn't been solved. Okay, so this is actually a kind of citrus called citron. You can see هذا اسمه Buddha's finger, but it is actually a citron. It belongs to Citrus medica. There are so many, like 1,600 species of citrus. So there is all kinds of shapes and colors of citrus. Usually this type is grown in Asia, usually. So this is the same like in China and other countries. The same like citron. This is the citrons we have in Oman. Shamoum, Shkhakhis, and Nahyan. So this is the same thing actually. the same type of plant, but this is called Buddha's finger, أصابع Buddha. So this is another kind of citrus. So that's basically the end of our talk about, or this lecture on citrus. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please let me know, and make sure you drink plenty of orange juice because it's very good for your immune system. Take care and good luck. Thank you.